Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to explore wisdom that has transcended centuries. Wisdom that not only changed the course of history, but also has the power to transform our lives today. These are lessons from the life of the greatest teacher, the last prophet Muhammad, who lived a life full of purpose, compassion, and guidance. In the next few minutes, we will uncover 21 practical lessons that can help you live better, think clearer, and act stronger in every aspect of your life. These lessons are not just spiritual, they are tools for everyday living, leadership, and personal development. So open your heart, lend your mind, and prepare to be inspired. The Prophet Muhammad was a man of unparalleled character, a man whose very life was a living example of integrity, humility, and moral excellence. From the moment he began his mission, people recognized in him something different, something powerful, something that could not be taught merely through words or instruction alone. It was in the way he treated others, in the way he conducted himself in the marketplace, in his family, in the mosque, and even with those who opposed him. His character shone brighter than the most dazzling light, not because he demanded attention, but because he reflected a sincerity and purity that drew people naturally. Imagine a life where honesty is not just a choice but a way of being, where truth is not something you bend to suit your convenience, but it becomes the foundation upon which all decisions are built. Think about the weight of your words and the impact of your actions when every gesture, every smile, every conversation carries the power to uplift, to heal, to inspire. He treated the weak with gentleness and the strong with respect, never seeking superiority, never craving praise, and never allowing arrogance to corrupt the heart. People from all walks of life, whether a companion or a stranger, a friend or a foe, could sense the genuineness, the authenticity, the unwavering moral compass that guided him. He never resorted to deceit or manipulation, even when faced with extreme hardship, ridicule, or betrayal. In every aspect of his life, he showed that character is not something you wear for others to see, but it is the invisible force that shapes every thought, every choice, and every interaction. And it was this character, this internal discipline and spiritual fortitude that gave him influence not through fear or force, but through love, trust, and undeniable respect. People came to follow him not just because of his message, but because of the man who carried it, the man whose soul reflected the divine, the man whose very presence was a lesson in kindness, patience, and humility, a demonstration that true greatness is measured not by wealth or power, but by the richness of the heart and the integrity of one's life. Gratitude was not just a feeling for the Prophet Muhammad, it was a way of life. A lens through which he viewed the world, a practice so deep that it permeated every moment of his existence. From the simplest blessing of a drop of water or a meal shared with the needy to the greatest successes and victories, he recognized the hand of Allah in everything. Imagine waking up each morning and seeing the world not as a place full of burdens and challenges, but as a tapestry of countless blessings, every color, every detail, every sound, a gift to be acknowledged and celebrated. He demonstrated that gratitude is not merely about saying words of thanks. It is about letting thankfulness shape your attitude, your behavior, and your very soul. When faced with hardship, when enemies plotted against him, when trials came that could have broken the spirit of any ordinary person, he turned to gratitude, recognizing that every situation carried wisdom. Every challenge held a lesson, and every hardship contained hidden mercy. His gratitude was active, not passive. It led him to pray more fervently, to serve others more generously, and to trust Allah more fully. Those who observed him could see that gratitude made him resilient, it made him patient, it made him joyful in a way that could not be taken away by circumstances. Gratitude created in him a perspective that transformed ordinary experiences into opportunities for growth and spiritual elevation. He taught that when we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, our hearts expand, our burdens feel lighter, and our lives become radiant with contentment and peace. And through his example, we learn that gratitude is contagious. It touches every soul around us. It strengthens relationships. It inspires generosity. It softens hearts. And it opens doors that arrogance and complaint could never unlock. The Prophet Muhammad faced trials that would have overwhelmed even the strongest of hearts. Yet through every moment of hardship, his patience shone like a guiding star. From the rejection of his message by those closest to him, to the ridicule, the threats, The boycotts and the battles that tested his physical and emotional endurance, he never allowed despair to take root in his heart. Imagine a life where obstacles appear not to break you, but to refine you, where difficulties are not walls to stop your journey, but stepping stones to elevate your spirit and strengthen your resolve. Patience for the Prophet I was not passive, it was an active force. A conscious decision to respond with wisdom, with calm, with faith in the unseen hand of Allah guiding every moment. He taught that impatience and anger cloud judgment, but patience illuminates the path forward, allowing clarity and understanding to emerge even in the darkest hours. When faced with injustice, he did not retaliate in anger. When confronted with betrayal, he did not lose trust in humanity. When circumstances seemed unbearable, he turned to prayer, reflection, and reliance upon Allah, finding strength beyond what the eye could see and the heart could comprehend. Every trial he faced became a lesson in resilience, a demonstration that true strength is not measured by how swiftly one overcomes hardship, but by how steadfastly one endures it with grace, with dignity, and with unwavering faith. His patience inspired others, calmed the fearful, and turned enemies into allies, showing that patience is not merely an individual virtue, but a force that can transform entire communities. It was through this patience that he modeled a life in which adversity does not destroy hope, does not extinguish purpose, and does not diminish the human spirit, but rather purifies the soul, cultivates wisdom, and opens the door to divine blessings hidden in every trial. The Prophet Muhammad was a living example of generosity, a man whose heart overflowed with compassion and whose actions were always directed toward lifting the burdens of others. From the poorest in his community to travelers and strangers who had nowhere to turn, he gave not only from his wealth, but from his time, his attention, and his love, teaching that true generosity is measured not by the size of what we give, but by the sincerity and sacrifice behind it. Imagine a life where giving is not occasional, where acts of kindness are not calculated for recognition or reward, but flow naturally from the depth of a heart aligned with divine purpose. He demonstrated that generosity is not limited to material wealth. It includes forgiveness, encouragement, protection of the weak, and sharing knowledge, wisdom, and hope with those who are lost or downtrodden. Every act of helping others, no matter how small, carried profound significance, because he understood that even a simple smile, a word of comfort, or a guiding hand can change the course of someone's life, ignite hope in despair, and plant seeds of goodness that grow far beyond what the eye can see. He gave freely even when resources were scarce, showing that generosity is not about abundance, but about trust in Allah to provide and replenish what is shared. Through his actions, he taught that when you serve others, you are serving humanity and drawing closer to the one who created it, that lifting another's burden is in fact lifting your own spirit, and that the joy of giving far surpasses the satisfaction of receiving. People were drawn to him not simply because of his wisdom, but because of the love he demonstrated through selfless acts, because of a heart so full of concern for others that it radiated in every interaction, inspiring communities to embrace compassion, to act with kindness, and to see wealth not as possession, but as a means to serve, to heal, and to build a better world for everyone. The Prophet Muhammad was meticulous in the way he used his time, showing us that every moment carries immense value and that productivity is not measured by busyness, but by purpose and intentionality. From the early morning hours, he would rise in devotion, in prayer, and in reflection, setting the rhythm of his day with focus, discipline, and clarity. He never wasted a single opportunity to seek knowledge, to counsel others, or to strengthen his community, demonstrating that time is a treasure that, once lost, can never be regained. Imagine a life where each hour is invested with purpose, where every minute is aligned with your goals, your responsibilities, and your higher calling, and where distractions, however tempting, are not allowed to steal the precious currency of your existence. He divided his day with precision, balancing worship, family life, teaching leadership and service, proving that productivity is not about overextending oneself, but about prioritizing what truly matters, doing what must be done with excellence, and trusting Allah to handle what is beyond our control. The Prophet showed that even brief moments of reflection, short interactions filled with wisdom, and acts of service, no matter how small or powerful, when used intentionally and consistently. He taught that procrastination, delay, and neglect of one's duties erode blessings, while discipline, focus, and diligence unlock the fullness of life's potential. Those around him could witness how his careful stewardship of time created impact, inspired devotion, and transformed communities, showing that a life well managed in time becomes a life rich in accomplishments, peace, and divine favor. Through his example, we understand that productivity is not merely about tasks completed, but about alignment, aligning our actions with purpose, our efforts with righteousness, and our minutes with meaning, so that every heartbeat and every breath contributes to the legacy of a life well lived. The Prophet Muhammad was the embodiment of forgiveness, a man whose heart was so expansive that it held no room for bitterness, grudges, or resentment. No matter how deeply he was wronged, he faced betrayal from those he loved, ridicule from those he sought to guide, and attacks from enemies who sought to harm him. Yet he responded with mercy, compassion, and the ability to let go in a way that astonished those around him. Imagine a life where the weight of anger, the chains of resentment, and the burden of past hurts do not dictate your present or poison your soul, where forgiveness is not a forced act, but a natural overflow of a heart aligned with divine principles. He taught that holding on to grudges is like carrying a stone in your chest, weighing down your spirit, clouding your judgment, and poisoning your peace, while forgiveness frees the soul, illuminates the mind, and opens doors to healing, reconciliation, and spiritual growth. He forgave those who sought to destroy him, those who conspired against his mission, and even those who had caused immeasurable pain, showing that true strength is not in retaliation, but in rising above hurt and choosing mercy over vengeance. Through his actions, we learn that letting go does not mean weakness or acceptance of wrongdoing, but a conscious decision to release the grip of negativity, to trust Allah with justice, and to allow your heart to remain pure, unburdened, and open to love. He had demonstrated that forgiveness transforms relationships, restores dignity, and inspires those around you to seek reconciliation rather than conflict, showing that the power of letting go reaches far beyond the individual. It has the ability to heal families, communities, and nations. And in every interaction, every confrontation, every betrayal he faced, he reminded the world that a life committed to forgiveness is a life of freedom, joy, and peace, a life that reflects the divine mercy that surpasses human understanding. The Prophet Muhammad was a man who constantly looked inward, reflecting deeply on his actions, intentions, and the state of his soul, teaching us that self-reflection is not a sign of doubt, but a pathway to growth, clarity, and excellence. Every choice he made, every decision he took, every word he spoke was preceded by awareness, by mindfulness, by an understanding that the condition of the heart shapes the quality of life and the impact one has on the world. Imagine a life in which you pause regularly to examine your intentions, to measure your progress, to recognize your mistakes, and to seek ways to improve, not out of fear of failure, but out of love for the highest version of yourself. The Prophet understood that no one is perfect, that human nature is prone to error, and that the journey towards spiritual, moral, and personal excellence is continuous and deliberate. He encouraged the companions and followers to evaluate their own actions daily, to ask whether their deeds reflected justice, mercy, and wisdom, and to adjust their paths accordingly, demonstrating that self-awareness is the seed from which transformation grows. By practicing this continuous improvement, he turned ordinary moments into lessons, challenges into opportunities, and relationships into mirrors for personal growth. He taught that progress is measured not by comparison to others, but by consistent effort to elevate oneself, by striving to become better than yesterday, and by seeking to align every thought and action with truth, integrity, and the divine guidance. Through reflection, he cultivated humility, recognizing the limits of human understanding while trusting in Allah's wisdom, and he inspired others to do the same, creating a community that valued learning, accountability, and moral responsibility. His life shows us that when we engage in genuine self-reflection, we become architects of our own destiny, sculptors of character, and stewards of our potential, constantly refining, improving, and striving to reflect the light of righteousness in everything we do. The Prophet Muhammad demonstrated that the power of every action lies not only in what is done, but in the intention behind it, teaching us that sincerity transforms ordinary deeds into extraordinary blessings. Every gesture, every word, every act of kindness he performed was rooted in purity of heart, not for fame, recognition, or personal gain, but solely to please Allah and serve humanity. Imagine a life where nothing is done for show, where every decision is filtered through the lens of honesty, integrity, and devotion, where even the smallest act, done with sincerity, carries profound spiritual weight and eternal significance. He taught that intentions are the foundation of character and the measure of accountability, that two identical actions may differ entirely in value, depending on the heart behind them. A simple act of charity, a moment of guidance, a word of encouragement, or even a smile offered sincerely can ripple through the world, influencing hearts, inspiring change, and drawing blessings far beyond what the eye can perceive. He consistently reminded his companions that superficial deeds hold little weight unless they are infused with sincerity, demonstrating that external appearances, social status, or material offerings mean nothing without the purity of the heart guiding them. Sincerity cultivates focus, strengthens faith, and fosters humility, because it removes the need for validation from others and places the responsibility entirely on the alignment of one's soul with divine will. By living every moment with true intention, he transformed ordinary life into a continuous act of worship, showing that the essence of a meaningful life is not in doing more, but in doing everything with authenticity, mindfulness, and devotion, so that each action becomes a testament to one's character, one's faith, and one's unwavering commitment to the higher purpose for which we were created. The Prophet Muhammad exemplified humility in every aspect of his life, showing us that true greatness is not measured by status, wealth, or power, but by the depth of one's character and the gentleness of one's heart. Despite being the messenger of Allah, chosen to guide the world with a message of truth, he never elevated himself above others, never sought to dominate, and never demanded recognition for the sacrifices he made or the wisdom he shared. He lived among the people, breaking bread with the poor, assisting the weak, walking alongside the oppressed, and treating every individual with the same respect and dignity, regardless of their social standing. Imagine a life in which pride does not cloud judgment, where arrogance does not taint interactions, and where every encounter is grounded in respect, empathy, and the sincere desire to serve rather than to be served. His humility was not weakness, it was a source of immense strength, a power that attracted hearts, inspired loyalty, and commanded respect without force or fear. He taught that modesty is a shield that protects the soul from vanity and pride, that humility opens doors to learning, growth, and divine favor, and that the more we humble ourselves, the closer we draw to Allah, and the more our influence extends in meaningful ways. He showed that living simply, speaking gently, and avoiding ostentation does not diminish one's impact, but rather magnifies it, for it is the purity of intention, the consistency of character, and the authenticity of actions that leave a lasting legacy. Through his example, we understand that true humility is not about self-deprecation or weakness, but about recognizing one's place in the grand design, valuing others, lifting them, and using one's gifts for the betterment of humanity, so that the heart remains free from pride, the soul remains peaceful, and every action becomes a reflection of a life aligned with the highest principles of integrity, love, and reverence. The Prophet Muhammad demonstrated a courage that was not born of recklessness, but of unwavering faith, a courage that enabled him to stand firm for truth, justice, and righteousness even in the face of overwhelming opposition, threats, and danger. From the earliest days of his mission, he faced ridicule, physical harm, and social ostracism, yet he never wavered, never compromised his principles, and never allowed fear to dictate his actions. Imagine a life where fear does not control the heart, where the temptation to conform to falsehood or remain silent in the face of injustice is overcome by the strength of conviction, the clarity of purpose, and the certainty that truth carries the power of divine support. He showed that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite it, the determination to speak for what is just, and the willingness to endure hardship for a cause greater than oneself. His courage inspired nations, calmed the fearful, emboldened the weak, and confronted oppressor without resorting to cruelty or vengeance. Every stand he took, whether in private council or on the battlefield, was measured, purposeful, and infused with wisdom, proving that true courage is guided by intellect, conscience, and faith, not by impulse or anger. He taught that integrity and truth are inseparable companions, that compromising them for comfort or safety diminishes the soul, and that the rewards of standing firm far outweigh the temporary relief found in compromise or silence. People who observed him saw that courage rooted in principle carries a magnetic power, transforming fear into respect, resistance into cooperation, and obstacles into opportunities for profound change. Through his example, we learn that every challenge, every confrontation, every moment of opposition is an opportunity to embody bravery, to assert truth with humility, and to trust in the justice and support of Allah, knowing that the path of righteousness, though difficult, is the only path that leads to lasting honor, divine favor, and eternal impact. The Prophet Muhammad lived a life of unwavering devotion, showing that consistency in worship is the cornerstone of a heart aligned with Allah and a life filled with purpose. From the quiet moments of the night spent in prayer to the daily rituals performed with mindfulness, he demonstrated that worship is not confined to grand gestures or special occasions, but is cultivated in the regular, persistent acts of obedience, remembrance, and gratitude. Imagine a life where your connection with the divine is not sporadic, dependent on circumstances, or influenced by mood, but is steadfast, reliable, and nourished daily, so that every breath, every step, and every action becomes a means of drawing closer to the Creator. He taught that consistency in devotion shapes character, strengthens faith, and creates a spiritual rhythm that guides every aspect of life, providing clarity in decision-making, resilience in trials, and peace in the midst of chaos. Even in the most demanding moments, he maintained his prayers, his supplications, and his remembrance of Allah, showing that true devotion is not contingent on comfort, ease, or public recognition, but flows from a deep, intimate relationship with the one who sustains all existence. Through his example, we understand that small, daily acts of worship performed with sincerity and regularity accumulate into a mountain of spiritual strength, that regularity builds discipline in every area of life, and that a devoted heart becomes a beacon for others, inspiring a community to value faith, mindfulness, and moral accountability. He also revealed that devotion is not just in the rituals themselves, but in carrying the spirit of worship into all interactions, treating every word, every action, and every intention as an opportunity to honor Allah and manifest His guidance, so that life itself becomes a continuous act of service, gratitude, and reflection rooted in steadfast obedience and unwavering consistency. The Prophet Muhammad placed immense value on seeking knowledge and wisdom, showing that the pursuit of understanding is not only a duty, but a powerful means of enriching life, guiding action, and shaping the soul. He taught that knowledge is a light that illuminates the heart and mind, a force that empowers individuals to make wise decisions, act with justice, and fulfill their purpose with clarity and insight. Imagine a life in which curiosity is a virtue, learning is a continuous journey, and every encounter, every experience, and every challenge is an opportunity to gain understanding and discernment, so that ignorance is replaced with awareness, confusion with clarity, and indecision with wisdom. He encouraged his companions to ask questions, to reflect deeply, and to seek guidance from those who were knowledgeable, demonstrating that humility and a thirst for learning are inseparable from true leadership and spiritual growth. Knowledge, he showed, is not merely the accumulation of facts or superficial understanding, but the cultivation of insight that transforms character, informs morality, and enables one to live in alignment with divine principles. He revealed that wisdom is born from knowledge, but perfected through experience, reflection, and the proper application of what is learned, proving that learning without implementation is incomplete, while understanding without humility is dangerous. Those who followed him witnessed that his approach to knowledge was practical, balanced, and deeply connected to life, guiding decisions, shaping community, and providing tools to navigate the challenges of the world with faith and integrity. Through his example, we learn that the pursuit of knowledge is lifelong, that it requires dedication, curiosity, and a willingness to be corrected and refined, and that the fruits of this pursuit are not only personal growth, spiritual elevation, and enhanced judgment, but also the ability to serve humanity with wisdom, compassion, and insight, turning knowledge into a bridge between hearts, a source of guidance, and a path to lasting impact in the world. The Prophet Muhammad exemplified the perfect balance between mercy and justice, showing that true leadership and righteous living require both a compassionate heart and an unwavering commitment to fairness. He was tender and forgiving toward those who erred, yet firm and decisive when truth and justice demanded it, demonstrating that leniency without principle can invite chaos, and strictness without mercy can harden hearts and destroy communities. Imagine a life in which every decision is weighed not by emotion alone, not by impulse, but by the careful calibration of justice and compassion, where the weak are protected, the oppressed are defended, and wrongdoing is addressed with wisdom and integrity. He taught that mercy is a force that heals, unites, and inspires, while justice is the pillar that maintains order, establishes trust, and safeguards the rights of all. People witnessed that he would forgive even grave offenses, offering opportunity for repentance and reform, yet he would also hold individuals accountable. ensuring that no one's rights were trampled and that society functioned with fairness and dignity. His approach was not random or reactive, it was deliberate, rooted in principle, and guided by divine revelation, showing that the interplay of mercy and justice is a mark of true wisdom and spiritual maturity. By balancing these two forces, he created a society where compassion did not weaken authority and justice did not extinguish love, proving that leadership, relationships, and personal conduct all benefit when hearts are tender and minds are firm, when the scales of action are guided by empathy and fairness alike. Through his life, we see that the ability to temper justice with mercy transforms communities, nurtures trust, and fosters harmony, while mercy without justice can erode accountability, and justice without mercy can destroy hope, revealing that the full measure of human excellence lies in cultivating both qualities in every decision, every interaction, and every moment of life. As we come to the close of these lessons, let us take a moment to reflect on the immense wisdom embedded in the life of the Prophet Muhammad. Every word, every action, and every choice he made was a testament to living with purpose, integrity, and unwavering faith. These 21 lessons are more than principles to be admired from a distance. They are a blueprint for transforming our own lives, for cultivating character that uplifts, for embracing patience that strengthens, for practicing gratitude that opens the heart, and for pursuing knowledge and self-reflection that refine the soul. When we apply these teachings in our daily lives, we are not simply following a set of rules. We are stepping into a way of life that brings peace amidst chaos, clarity amidst confusion, and strength amidst trials. The Prophet demonstrated that true success is measured not by wealth, fame, or worldly achievements, but by the quality of our character, the sincerity of our intentions, and the love and service we show to others. Let us carry these lessons forward, not as a fleeting inspiration, but as a living guide, allowing patience, generosity, humility, courage, and wisdom to shape our decisions, our relationships, and our hearts. For in living according to these principles, we align ourselves with a path of purpose, honor, and divine guidance. And we discover that a life modeled on the teachings of Prophet Muhammad is a life that not only thrives in this world, but prepares the soul for the eternal.